Right, thanks for being here. It's been a while since we've done one of these cuddles, and we have a pretty packed schedule. Now, I'm pretty good with timekeeping, so if we finish by 8 p.m., I'm happy. Lewis said he added up my speaking slots today, and he said it's only an hour, and I was like, hold my beer. So, I've only got 15 minutes for this first bit, so I'm going to crack on. Hi, Daniel. So, since the last cuddle, we've had the D-Tau bear market. For those that have been in alpha, in fact, first of all, who is not in Tau? I need to. Harry, put your hand up. Yeah. Okay, so you all know what Tau is. Okay, that's going to save some time. Yeah, so some of alpha or some of subnets has been falling. A lot of people have been taking punches to the face, and the general sentiment is pretty painful out there at the moment. When you observe Twitter, at least. And but I do believe this is like near the end. I think we are scraping the barrel. If you go on tau.app and look at average alpha prices, that really has sort of, it's starting to bottom out, I believe. And it doesn't take much of an inflow for that to start popping up. Hello. We've had the Trump-Powell fight. So obviously Powell has been trying all year to not cut rates, to not print. He's always been leaning on the, I don't want to curb it, I don't want to start inflation going higher. But I think, I fell into my curse where I'm early, but I'm normally correct. I thought he would cut last time, he didn't. But oil prices have been staying pretty much below 65, which is pretty safe for inflation purposes. So the last sort of like stool he was leaning on is gone, barring any hot war that pops up over the next 2 weeks. So I think he's already starting to position himself into, we're going to have to cut rates. And as you know, rate cutting is just the hors d'oeuvre before money printing starts, or currency printing. GPT-5 and Grok 4 launched. So GPT-5 was a bit of an underwhelming release. Sam Altman, or Scam Altman, was bigging up GPT-5 for a while. And it was really, it wasn't actually that much of an improvement from 4.5. The coding aspect of GPT-5 is actually pretty good. I'm like a muggins over here. I cannot code for shit. But we have a family board game that we love playing, and it's called Farms Race. I bought it off a Facebook advert. It's really fun. I thought, I'll see if GPT-5 can code this up. And I created a computer game. I've never in my life coded anything, but with the prompt of, do you know this game? Yeah. Please code it up. Okay. And it just did it, and I was just like doing very basic vibe coding. Hey. And it did it, and I was surprised, and it just chucked out like 700 lines of code, and I just had to press play, and I made a game. So that's pretty cool. Now Grok 4, so what Elon does is he releases things pretty fast, but really like unrefined. So like Grok 4, with Colossus 1 and Colossus 2, he has the biggest AI supercompute power out there. And he's using that to train Grok 4. And what's happening is that people are making opinions of Grok 4 based on a snapshot experience, but they're not revisiting it 3 months later. And what you'll find with Grok 4 is that pretty much every 3 months, it takes massive step changes in ability. And when you look at what Grok 4 Heavy can do, where they're basically running parallel Grok 4s to sort of work together and check each other's work, I think it's leading every other AI in humanity's last exam, which is like the hardest questions of like any topic, to the point where humanity's last exam they are the hardest questions that we can come up with as human beings, and Grok 4 Heavy is pretty much launching it. Right, quick one for the big chart. I know most of you here has seen this, but we do have some new people here. So the three big ones, we look at interest rates. So These grey lines here are crashes or economic recessions. Pretty much every time we have a cut in interest rates, we actually see a bit of a stock market crash, but the market does run up before that happens. So there is a bit of lag here. This does zoom out quite a bit. So what we've had the big rate hike, we've had the pausing, and every time there's a pause, assets spike high, and we're just waiting for the cut now. And then when you tie that into unemployment rate, whenever you see a local low of unemployment rates, again, we're not talking about how it's calculated here because it's all a big lie. Every time we see a local low and then it starts spiking up, we have the recession. So when you have those two combined, it has like a 90% accuracy rate. Josh. And then you add in inflation. So every time we see a spiking in inflation and interest rates and a local low of unemployment, it nearly always leads to, or in fact, it does always lead to an economic recession / crash, or at least since the 1950s. These three charts are the only thing that sort of keeps me tethered to this. There's a bit of a tumble coming. But I can list endless amounts of reasons why we're about to have a crazy boom. So I'm consistently or constantly torn. The US 10-year yield, this is the chart that Powell, or the Besant actually, wants to start dumping, because every 1% the 10-year goes down, the US saves $200 billion per year in interest repayments. Now, obviously, the whole tariff and the three-legged stool thing that they keep talking about hasn't quite worked because yields are pretty high. However, you tend to see the 2-year is a bit of a leading indicator. And when we look at the 2-year, it's looking very, very toppy. In fact, I shouldn't have drawn, these are regulated assets, I shouldn't draw lines, so let's move on. But 2-year bond curve looks, it looks pretty damn toppy. Everything else, all the bigger type pictures, they all look the same, as they have done for the last year pretty much every time I've done this. There's way more debt than there is currency supply. That will never ever change. US GDP looks great, but compare that to currency supply, it means jack shit. Same with debt. Debt just outpaces everything. The budget deficit, again, Elon with Doge created some lovely cuts. And they're on track to cut like $1 trillion a year, almost $2 trillion over a period of time. And then Trump comes along with his big, beautiful bill and just kicks it out of the park. So we haven't got an updated paint on this one, but when that does happen, it's more of the red. They've given the DoD $1 trillion budget. That's the biggest military budget any country has ever seen, from a nominal term and also as a percentage of GDP. It's huge. US budget deficit as a percentage of GDP is still, again, we haven't had an updated paint. Sometimes the Federal Reserve, they sort of sit lazily on certain charts and they push them out 3 to 6 months later. Again, yeah, same as sort of World War II type levels here. But I still keep coming back to my smooth brain bullet points. It's got Biden there, but that's how old this chart is. For a long time, we were waiting. We're still here. We're just waiting for these rate cuts. Okay, we've got all of this. This is persistent. We're just waiting for the rate cuts, and then we'll see the crazy stim pumps. Now, everyone is focused on the US, but it doesn't have to be the US. China, I think, could be first to blink. They've got more problems than the US, believe it or not. And this happens all very, very fast. And more cowbell is exactly what we're waiting for. And it only takes a little bit of sprinkling, and then average alpha prices start rising. And everyone can, boats and hoes. So right. Now, the problem the US is having is that no one is buying the lemonade from their lemonade stand, i.e. no one's buying US debt. The Chinese aren't buying them anymore. Russia definitely is not buying US debt. And the BRICS nations, it's not just BRICS, there's like 25 nations or more in the BRICS. No one's buying US bonds anymore. So Mummy's going to have to step in. Who is Mummy? The Federal Reserve. The Fed is the buyer of last resort. They will have to buy debt. They will have to buy the US T bonds. Rates will be cut. and then currency printing will commence, and I think we have a super cycle. Honestly, I'm leaning more towards a super cycle. Powell does this, and I think, all this time I have been worried about this economic recession. The big charts show us about to have a bit of a crash. But I looked at the S&P 500 the other day on the log chart, on the three monthly chart. So each candlestick represents 3 months worth of price action. This is the S&P 500 since 1871. I don't think we need to be as scared anymore. Like, we've had some pretty horrendous crashes since 1871, and the chart looks pretty damn fine to me. We've had 2 world wars. We've had, this was actually a silent crash where the S&P 500 did nothing for 20 to 30 years, so that's a silent crash. But even with the tech bubble crash, the subprime mortgage collapse, we've had COVID, which was this little, where the hell is COVID? It's tiny. The thing is, since 1998, with long-term capital management going bust, and basically all the banks had to sort of gobble up a shit ton of toxic debt, and then that was exacerbated by the subprime mortgage collapse. The derivatives web is so vast that everything is too big to fail now. So all of the governments won't let any of these tiny dominoes fall, which means they will just have to print it over. And so I'm starting to really lean on the side that even if we do have this little crash, it will be temporary. Like, COVID was, the lockdowns was pretty much the worst thing that humanity has experienced from actually no, not worse. There's been some pretty bad times in humanity. But in recent history, the world just stopped for like a year. Like, everything had to just pause. China had to turn off the factories. And the chart still looks like this. So I'm starting to believe more in the super cycle, and that the Bitcoin fractal cycle is going to stop working. I think we're not going to get a crazy 70-80% crash. At best, maybe a 30 to 40% crash in Bitcoin, and then it just carries on. When you look at the list of strategic Bitcoin reserve companies, it's growing every day. It's not just Bitcoin, it's now ETH and Solana and Tau. Is that my phone? Oh, my phone is, sorry. So yeah, I think if there is a tumble, it'll be short-lived. This is total crypto market cap. It's still sort of caterpillaring up this curve. It's just a matter of time, just a matter of time. And then we look at the others. So this is the chart of all crypto other than the top 10. And this is coiling. When you look at this from a charting perspective, there is a fair bit of coiling. This is the weekly chart, so it does, it's a bit, this little tiny breakout here is happening now, and we are seeing a bit of coiling. So I wouldn't be surprised if others started to pump soon. And then when you look at on-chain analytics, I'm already behind schedule. God damn it, Siam. Again, pretty much every on-chain analytic indicator shows that we're nowhere near a high. That's all I wanted to say with this. So this chart incorporates most of the extreme oscillators, and even if we don't have time to go through all of them right now, but we are not near a cycle high. Again, when you look at the Mayer multiple, this is my favorite one in particular, we're pretty much middle ground. Nothing is really, there's nothing exciting going on here. Now, I don't believe it's going to hit the top of the red this time round. I think it'll probably start, skim the orange line. But again, if the Mayer multiple were to just go up to the orange line, we're looking at 250K Bitcoin. And then MVRV ratio, again, average. Like, there's absolutely no indicator screaming Bitcoin all-time high right now. And then you just look at what the big money is doing. This is the amount of Bitcoin that the Bitcoin ETFs are gobbling up. So even with the Bitcoin price tumble recently, or retrace, they're still, they didn't give up much of their Bitcoin, and this is starting to tick up. So Bitcoin ETF inflows are going up, and I think institution institutional money is actually doing their own little rotation, because look at the ETH ETF. The ETH ETF is now really picking up. So yeah, that's just the bigger macro update. I think things are looking relatively peachy. Famous last words.